What up, what up? Welcome to a new day and welcome to this new video. Today I wanted to talk about regrets, and I feel like it's something that we all have, or something that we've all done. We've all made mistakes, we've all not entirely seen the correct answer because we don't know the right answer, so we end up making a mistake, and that mistake can turn into a regret. And I really do feel like a lot of us can fall into those regrets, and with that comes like a lot of shame, a lot of doubt. Puts you in a headspace where you start thinking that those regrets you have to carry them with you all the time. And you know what? I'm here to tell you that you don't. I'm obviously, like, if you have any regrets, like, it's something to look back on. But I truly believe the reason that you keep looking back to it is because you haven't fully learned, or you haven't fully grown from the experience. So I feel like it's your consciousness begging for growth. Like, it'll keep going to that one situation or that one moment where you fucked up, or you messed up. And you keep looking at it because you're trying to figure out what was the right thing to do. And with regrets, I'm here to tell yourself, like, cut yourself some slack. I'm not saying, go out and just do whatever the fuck you want, because, we live with other people and we have to be respectable of different walks of life, or, be respectable of the way others see things, Obviously, things can go sour real quick. But, like I said, don't look at regrets as something to be ashamed about, or something to really, like, weigh you down. Just keep looking forward, and when those regrets come knocking on your mind's door, ask yourself, well, how could I have done better? Ask yourself, like, I did this, but what would have been a better option? And try your best the next time you're in that same specific situation. You've messed up in that situation before, and now you know that you can do better. And like I said, in that, you gotta really just trust yourself, and like stay in that growth mindset. And like I said, cut yourself some slack. Let yourself see the things that you've done, and don't tell yourself, oh, this is who I am, or like, oh, I'm a fuck up, or oh, like, all I do is mess up, I'm too stupid, I'm too naive, or I'm too gullible. You're really not. It's just a rite of passage, as a human being, as we grow from children to adults, or from young adults to adults to, wise men. Wise men started off like babies, barely learning how to walk. And in the same sense, like, when you're going through life, you're still learning how to walk, but you're learning how to, navigate this mindscape, or, people's emotions, people's, like I said, different walks of life, or people's, views. Like, we're all trying to learn how to make it work together. Obviously, there's people out there that don't really try, but like I said, I feel like it's because they fall into that trap of, like, I can't do better. And honestly, I think that's a bunch of horse shit. Like, you can do better, and it just takes time and effort. Like I've talked about in my previous videos, like, I'm a recovering addict. When I was doing drugs, I came from a really selfish place, and I recognized that. I used people, or, I took advantage because, when you're riding high, you think you're the smartest man in the world, and you're fucking, being manipulative, or doing whatever you can to keep chasing that high, or to get what you want. And I really do feel like, even if you're not using drugs, and you're completely sober, you're still doing things to get high, or to feel like you're in control of yourself, or in control of your life. And some people take that nihilistic point of view. It's a cold world, or everything's fucked up, so why even bother? But I think I got to remind people, or you got to remind yourself, that these things, or these ideas like love, empathy, trust, loyalty, they were all built. They literally came out of nowhere, and it took trial and error to find these values. So the next time that you make a mistake, like I said, just look at it and ask yourself, like, why did I make this mistake, or what went wrong? Because for myself, when I was doing drugs, I kind of blamed my childhood trauma, or I blamed my past a lot, and I used it as an excuse to continue doing and acting and just being a bad person. And like I said, even if you're sober, like you can blame, like, oh, that person's an asshole, when they're really not. It's more than likely just a miscommunication, or it's like, oh, I hurt that person because they deserved it. Nobody deserves that. And like I said, it's not because you're stupid, it's not because you're incapable. It has everything to do with the fact that we're still learning. And once you accept that you're still, like, no matter how old you are, no matter how grown you think you are, you're still that little kid learning how to walk. And I really do feel that mistakes and regrets should be empowering. Like, if you were to ask me to go back, and start over, I would love to make all the mistakes that I've made all over again, but just because it made me the person I am today. And, I took the time to, make peace with my mistakes, or make peace with my past. And in that, I was able to forgive other people. Forgive other people for doing me wrong, or, forgive other people when they fall short. And it's truly because, like, I've learned to forgive myself, and I've learned to forgive them. So, when someone does me wrong, I don't blame them. I look at them as, that kid that just hasn't figured that part out yet, or just doesn't know you well enough. It takes time. It takes time, and it takes effort. And like I said, next time that you mess up royally, take a step back, cut yourself some slack, and admit that you made a mistake, and move on from there. Don't let it, like, engulf you and try to give you this false identity that you're an evil person, or you're bad, or you're manipulative, or anything. Like I said, just look at it from a growth mindset. You're growing, you're learning. Even if you have to make the same mistake 1,000 times, well, that 1,001st times you finally do it right, I feel like that's a win to me. And obviously, don't take advantage of people. Say sorry. Say sorry and explain to them, like, hey, like, for me, when I was doing drugs, like, I had to tell people, like, hey, like, I really wasn't thinking straight, or I wasn't coming from that empathetic, or coming from that safe space where I care about people. It was more of just like I was on a roller coaster, and I was just looking for that next peak. And I guess that's where ego comes in, chasing that high, or, like I said, getting that idea of, like, self-control, or like you're in control, like the world's in your hands. And it could be, but it's not right to just steamroll over people and, like I said, just take advantage. Like, if anything, we should be helping each other grow. Like, when I see someone that I feel like is a little lost, or someone that I feel like doesn't, especially like people in recovery, or people that are struggling with addiction, like, I tell them, like, hey, it's doable, but you got to be willing to make the decision, and you have to accept that, like, everything that you did while you were high, everything that you did while you're coming down, everything that you did, that's you. But don't take it as, like, oh, like I said, I'm not a good person, I can't do this. You are. You just have to believe that you're moving forward, and you're not just stuck in some rut of the cycle of doom of doing shit, having regret, feeling bad about it, getting high, doing more shit. Like, you don't want to get lost in that same cycle. And like I said, I do feel like this connects to even people that are sober. We have our emotional roller coaster, and that's something that I'm starting to learn about, is, like I said, just our living life on life's terms. Because for me, like, I am in recovery. Like, my brain is not always where it should be, and I can argue that I don't have very great role models. I mean, but I feel like none of us do. I mean, there's great people in this world, and I know that I'm not one of them, but I'm on my way. And I feel like that's okay. So, like I said, when it comes to these regrets, when it comes to these mistakes, when it comes to your past, don't just ignore it. Don't just, say like, oh, I'm a brand new me, or don't start acting all brand new. Just accept that that was part of your process. That was part of your journey. That was part of your growth. Because even now, like, people, I'm pretty sure people have known me as like, oh, that drunk, like, druggy, like, that was always saying some stupid shit, or always just doing too much, like being gregarious, or being what's the word I'm looking for, just being obnoxious, I guess. And when I look back, that was me. Like, I really did repeat myself over and over when I was in some drunken stupor, or getting really philosophical and challenging everyone's ideas, thinking that I was so smart, when in actuality I was just running circles in my brain. And now that I'm older and now that I'm sober, I'm able to recognize those moments, and I'm able to kind of catch myself. And I don't let it beat me anymore. Where before it was like, well, I'm already a fuck up, like, might as well just get high and feel good about myself. I just want to feel good. But now that I kind of adopted this new mindset, I'm allowing myself to make mistakes, and really being my own parent. Like I said, not giving myself an excuse to act a certain way. Like, I feel like just as long as you're trying and you're trying to do better, I feel like that's one of the most beautiful things in the world is, when you get in a bad fight with somebody and, they come up to you and you're like, what, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what came over me, or, oh, like, this triggered me, and, I still don't understand why. Like, just talking it out with somebody and, sharing the experience, because I feel like we all do it. Like, we all make mistakes. I mean, if you believe in God, there's only one perfect person, and that was Jesus himself. But for the majority of us, we're not perfect, and that's okay. But don't hold someone else's mistakes over their head. Like, I feel like that's so mean, when you constantly keep putting someone down because you think they're stupid, or because you think they're not good enough, or they're not capable. The fucked up part is that eventually they start believing it, that they're not capable, or they're too stupid to do better with themselves, and that's just not true. For some of us it takes time. For me, it took all about 7 years. Oh shit, it's gonna be like 8 years for me to really look at myself and look at the way that I was taking care of myself, and the way that I was treating myself, and the way that I was treating others. It took time for me to work through my past traumas as a kid, and it took time for me to work through, I guess, a lot of growth that I missed out, but just because I was ignorant. I guess ignorant's a good word. But all I'm trying to say is, we all make mistakes, we all have regrets. It takes time. Don't let it get the best of you. Be the best you. And another thing that I want to talk about too, taking it back to the whole shame thing. Like, why are you gonna shame yourself, man? Or why are you gonna let others, shame you? Like I said, I'm not saying be ignorant. I'm just saying, like, we all do stupid shit. Like, we've all had our moments where we get too carried away, or we're listening to the wrong thing. I don't know, whatever happens, like, we all make mistakes. Like, I've had so many times where I've thrown up, like, in front of people in random places because I'm fucked up, but I'm not the only one that's thrown up in some fucking alley or thrown up in front of some cops. I'm not the only one. And just because someone doesn't throw up because they're drunk doesn't mean that they don't piss certain people off, or it doesn't mean that they don't have bad days. Like, we all have bad days. And, in that, we have to learn how to carry each other, or give that support to one another, to allow us to believe that we can be and do better. And taking it back to the whole shame thing, like I said, I'm a recovering addict, but I also have I'm diagnosed schizophrenic, PTSD, major depressive, I have an anxiety disorder, severe social anxiety disorder, or whatever. I don't know, I have all kinds of stuff, man. And I read somewhere that you can't love somebody out of their mental illness, but you can still love them enough to make them believe that they can make their way out of it. And I still have my triggers. I still have my times where I'm not necessarily thinking right, and I have psychotic thoughts here and there, and it's scary, man. Like, because I feel like I'm gonna fall back into that way of thinking, or fall back into that hole where I lose control of myself, or I start treating people poorly. But I'm learning more and more how to cope with my mental illness, or cope with my disease. And I really do believe that if somebody like me, a recovering addict, diagnosed crazy, if I can learn to cope, and if I can learn to move forward, to look forward, and I can learn to grow, I truly believe that each and every one of us can learn to grow and learn to just handle ourselves, or be better people. And then another thing that I've learned recently is you're never ever really going to be fixed, or you're never really going to be, there's no such thing as being the best you. Like, the best you is an ongoing process. Like, the sky's the limit. Like, it's something that you have to work on consciously every single day. You gotta meditate on the right things. You gotta listen to the right music, listen to the right role models, the right people, put yourself in the right headspace, and teach their own. Like I said, people are in different places in their growth process, or their own path. And I just feel like you got to keep going. Like, you can't give up. And I've tried to commit suicide a couple times, and I'm not gonna lie, each time I bitched out. I couldn't do it. But it's just because there was something in me that just knew that no matter how low I am, or how how bad things got, there was tomorrow. There's a part of me that knew that there's more to my story. And the same thing with, I guess I'll get in a little bit with one of my friends that had killed himself. He had laid himself out on some train tracks. And I used to take him home every day from work, and we would talk, we would drink, we'd smoke, we'd hang out. And he was one of the best dudes, or I thought he was a great person. And people would tell me, like, oh, don't hang out with him, like, he's not good to be around, or he's a bad influence, like, don't be around him. But they didn't see the same person that I saw, a person that was struggling, that tried every day. He had his days where he just didn't give a fuck. And me being me, I can understand or empathize with that, because there's just some days where you can't keep the story of I'm gonna be a good person, or you can't keep up with some days you just wake up and choose hate. And I argue that's okay. We all have those days. And I argue anyway. I have regrets when it comes to me and that particular friend. I wish that I could have been the person he needed. I wish that I could have told him the right things, or what he needed to hear. But he was like in his 40s, and here I am like in my 20s. Like, what am I gonna tell him? Like, he's lived way more life than me. Like, we're not even close to being on the same page. And I had to learn not to blame myself, and I understand that it's hard, because it is hard for me. Like, I blame myself for just not being more, you know? And it's hard, man. But the hard pill I had to swallow was, that was his choice. And, I respect it. Like, I truly believe he's in a better place. And for myself, like, I know how that feels to lose somebody. And I wouldn't want anybody to feel that way to lose me, So I made the decision that I need to clean myself up, and I need to learn how to become stable. I need to learn how to cope, and I need to learn how to talk to people. And, be respectable. Because, like I said, these things or these values, they don't just magically happen. Like, boom. Like, you're a good person now. You hit 27, like, boom. Like, now you know shit. Now you know what to do. Or you're 30, boom. Like, now you know how to take care of your kids. Like, now you're going to be a perfect parent. Like, no, we're all winging it. We're all on the fly. We're trying our best. But like I said, it just takes practice. It takes practice, looking back. And I know we've all made terrible mistakes. Like, I've done some stupid shit or some fucked up shit. But at the end of the day, I'm not a stupid person. Like, I love Forrest Gump. Like, stupid is as stupid does. Like, if you do something stupid, it doesn't mean you're stupid. You just did something stupid. But, yeah, man, just don't give up. Don't stop trusting yourself. And, when you make those mistakes and they turn into regrets, figure out how to turn those regrets into growth. Turn those weeds into flowers. You know what I mean? Like, really pick yourself up every time you fall. Anyway, so that's my little spiel, or my little rant on regrets. I guess just to sum it all up, we all make them. Don't be too hard on yourself, and keep growing, man. One day at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time. Hope you guys have a good one. Late.